It's interesting. Tonight I was like going back to Confidence, the piece, one of the songs without words of Mendelssohn. And I've always had trouble with this particular opening passage. And so I went back to it today and I tried to analyze and self-analyze about what I could do differently to get the passage to be very even. It's a tricky little passage, the opening, and it opens the same way it ends, with the framing, beginning and ending. Quite beautiful. And it's 16th notes, and it goes pretty quickly. When I realized I wasn't doing right, and this was a lot of sort of process of elimination, trial and error kind of thing, which you should do when you're practicing, because you're not always going to be with your teacher every day since your lessons. And even if you're a self-learner, it's always good to self-analyze about what might not be working. Conclusion I came to was, for this opening passage, I was not going to do a lot of these types of rotations when I'm going this fast, but I'm going to channel a lot of arm weight across my hands through this passage in terms of the right hand. When I want to make some dynamic shifts, I just, again, lighten my arm weight. So I'm going to do it like at moderate speed, and I'm going to pick it up. But the main thing is to keep the evenness, and the evenness of this opening with all these 16ths. And also because it starts with an arpeggio, a little broken chord. First thing I think of is, well, I do need to do rotation, but not necessarily. So if I just went, it's enough. Stay close really works better than if I continued, and actually it's going bringing the thumb under. I'm keeping my hand pretty stable, but I'm still thinking of the singing tone as I do that. But I'm not doing extraneous motions, which I was starting to do before, and I realized I was getting totally trapped by it. So you can do little parts of this. Add another 4. Because it's going to stay soft. And then the second measure, it starts to open up with a crescendo, and that's where you're going to inject more arm weight. Another 4. Of course, there's a little melody going through this now. So you hear the first A, which now you hear A, B, C sharp, and then you hear C sharp, D, E. You have a good fingering. Of course, then it drops down here. And so far, staying close to the keys, but still being aware that there's a melodic thread going through this, so I don't get too many notes that are, what I call the afterbeat notes. Now this is where it gets tricky, because we're going to go higher and higher. We get these common tone thumbs, which can crank out and interrupt everything. So really you might want to do this with the right fingering. See, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 3. That's where I diverge from the music's fingering, from the editor. 5, 4, 5, 5, 4, 5, 5, 4, 5. So what I do here is thumb 3, 5, 4, 2, 5, 5. Good idea is actually to follow the top line there with the right fingering, just to get not the afterbeat thumbs, but what's moving, which are the thirds. They're parallel thirds. So 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 5, 4, 5, 5. Thirds disappeared. 4, 5, 5, 4, 5. There's a little loop here. That's where singing really helps, where if I don't get a a particular phrase, right, I just start singing with myself and see where I'm looping up and pulling back. That comes from a vocal model. This is very vocal model, this piece. So far I have A, B, C sharp, D. I'm going to start my crescendo. 3, 4, 5, mouse, re, da, da, re, da, less now. Da, dee, da, dee, da, 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 da. Practice that. I'm done. Da, 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 da. I'm done. Da, 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 da. Because I even want to play it faster, but I don't want to lose the evenness if I play it faster, and I don't want to lose the thread of that melody going through the thirds, going up and then coming down with the crescendo, and then there's a decrescendo. It doesn't say decrescendo, but you will be bringing it down. You got to think of horizontal motion, like your arm is being floated that way. See, I'm showing you all of my sort of gaps and how I fill them in. Same thing here. That's where I get that, where you want to get that phrasing so you don't get a flat sound. Because if you didn't do that, you'd probably get this. This is very flat. Instead of it's very nuanced. It's a slight little nuance that makes a difference. So you don't get a flat liner, because this could be very flat lined. That's why I tell students never play with a flat line. Within even a piano, it says piano. It doesn't stay like one line piano like at this level. It always has little ins and outs. So the rest of it isn't terribly difficult, except that with Mendelssohn, I think, you want to, Schumann too, and you have like 4-part harmony, like soprano, alto, tenor, bass with a melody on top, which is coming next. I think you need to really voice toward your top finger, your top melody line, or it gets really heavy. It doesn't have that kind of, buoyancy of the sound. So what I do is upper voice, you can hear. That's how I voice. See, I don't want to hear too much at the bottom and, this thickness. I want to hear the top voice. And I still can do my dynamics. Oh, here's another thing. I'm showing all my little tricks. There's 3 C sharps in that 6th measure. And a lot of students will just play each C sharp the same, even though they're rhythmically different and they're also melodically have a different function. So in measure 6, you see a dotted quarter on the C sharp on the top, and then you see it going to another C sharp with an 8th, and then another C sharp with an 8th, but just strung with more 8th notes, and then a 16th note that goes higher. So you actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 C sharps, and you have to say to yourself, how do I do them that they don't sound like you're just going up and down C sharp, C sharp, C sharp, C sharp. So you have to say, how would I sing it? And here goes the vocal model once more. So we're deciding we're bringing out voicing to the top, push, and I push, by the way. And that's decaying, so I'm going to come in on the decay. And then this one's going to be also out of the decay of the previous one. Now I'm going to go forward to the... And I pulled that back. I'm going to go back in the keys. You know why? Because I have to answer quietly. Now I'm back to... Here it comes again. Coming on the decay. They were all different. All those C sharps. And I'm playing very slowly, by the way. Coming on the decay. So you can see, when I had all those different C sharps, they were all different. They all had a different approach, and different, maybe some had a delay if they were longer notes. If they came out of a long one to another shorter note value, I come in on the decay from the longer note value, because I don't want to interrupt the line where the line can suddenly get like a intersection, and an interruption. Although C sharps need to go across. but they have to have nuances to them. That's just some ideas. And, it continues like that. I'm just looking for tricky places. Now, here's a SF. Well, the SF, that's my SF. It's the top note, really. The top note is the SF for me. Resolve it. Down. Continue. And so that's very soft C sharp because that's a tied E on top. And this is very horizontal. Very slowly I'm practicing. Rest. Echo. Should have changed the pedal there. It was too blurry. Now, if I were playing this quicker, I might not change the pedal there. But I'm playing... So here's the thing. When you're playing really slowly, you're going to have to change the pedal more because the notes are not decaying that fast. They're decaying slowly because the notes are decaying slower because you're playing slower. So I changed the pedal because I'm playing slow. And then when it comes... Now here's another place where you don't want... You'll hear a lot of students doing that. You want to kind of go across. Again, voice to the top. And... Again. It says P, but I'm not going to do... I will not do flat. That's what I mean by flatlining. Think of the violin. I think of a string player or a vocalist who would, get the bow in the string and move the bow a little deeper toward a, let's say 3 notes going across a measure to a longer note value. And that's what's happening here. It's the same measure, but he's going 3/8 notes to a longer note. That's my destination. So I'm nudging toward it with a little bit of forward feeling of going forward. Doing it like that. Now this is tricky because you've arrived and falling to there. Retardando. This is way below speed. This gives you a little bit of an idea how to do this. Now I'm back to that beginning. Of course, it's not going to be as fast in this tempo as it would if the whole piece were in tempo. But let's say we're going back to the beginning tempo, which was the beginning comes back at the end. And so I'm going to keep my arm weight pretty level. Voice. That balance is hard to do because you're pretty much soft. Now the difference between coming back at the end, in a way I always tell students, if you want to go to a double P, you might want to lift up your dynamic a little in the measure before so there's somewhere to go down to a double P. Now the difference between coming back at the end is it's double P when that introduction comes back at the end. So in the beginning you're more like... Very tricky piece, very tricky. I'm going to see what I have here, but I was just like showing you what I try to do and all of the mishaps that I have, A lot of times I'll record something 10, 12 times before I go, now I finally got the spacing, now I finally got relaxed. Oh, one more thing, breathing. You've got to breathe properly when you play. Because if you're holding your breath or everything else gets tight. If your breath is held, or if you have an agitated kind of hyperventilation, where you're breathing too fast and there's too many breaths in and out. So when I do something like that, opening, you've got to have a well of breath. You can't lose your breath. And that's a big component of playing, especially hard passages that are zooming around. You have to group the notes, and you have to breathe the notes. You have to space the notes, which part of breathing, and all that.